So, welcome to another sketchbook tour. If this is the first one of these that you've seen, I'll put up a playlist of the others. These are sketchbooks that I've had since I went to university to study illustration, and I'm just going through them again now to scare myself. This should be sketchbook number 8, I think. This is one of my later sketchbooks that takes me through my final major project, where I was doing a load of comics, and I decided to, for some reason, split myself into several different illustrators and make comics in different styles based on their personalities and what they were into and that sort of thing. I think I was struggling with the fact that I didn't have a consistent style and I drew in different ways for different things, so I wanted to reconcile that by having different guys, I guess. So this was a sketchbook that I actually submitted as part of my project. So I have these little cards that have the name of the comic, a little bit about what it was, and the name of the artist that was making it. So this one was by Victor. It's called Doubt, and it's one of my favorites, actually. It's a comic that I tried to start a few times. It's set in a post-apocalyptic future. There's a virus. It's like a zombie vampire type thing. And a lot of the rich people have left Earth, gone to Earth 2, and they use the security cameras and video cameras and everything that's left behind on Earth 1 to televise everything that goes on in a Big Brother style sort of reality TV thing. The plot followed this character called Callie, who became a criminal on Earth 2 and was sent back to Earth 1. So these are some of the silhouettes that I was using to plan for her ship that she was sent back on. It was just supposed to be an evacuation pod, so something that would break apart and then be sturdy enough to land. So I had some notes about what I wanted that to look like. I had some notes on what the planet was like and some ideas for what I wanted the ugly little zombies to look like, because they were based on humans. This was a part of another book where I'd written some script and started to thumbnail the comic itself. I did make the first few pages of this, maybe to about here. I might have actually finished to this. It was all black and white. I'll try and put some of it up on the screen if I can find it. I even had like an animated cover because it was supposed to be like a webtoon thing. These are some more character designs and some little concepts. I think I had some more studies that I did for this. You can pretty much tell that I was really into Pacific Rim whenever I did this, because this is basically new. You know, I can't blame past me. I still love that show. I think there was some bleed through, so I stuck some paper in. And this is another character from the same thing. I had this like supernatural sort of tie-in, not the TV show, but supernatural tie-in, where there was a group of pretty unhinged individuals, your average D&D group basically, and they were trying to summon a creature because they don't have the full scope of what's happening on Earth 1 still. They're in these little bunkers, so they only have kind of Fallout-y, I guess. They don't have the full picture, and they've gone like a supernatural route to try and solve the problem. And yeah, these are some more. If you've seen some of my other sketchbooks, you might recognize some of these characters. This is a comic that I went to uni wanting to make. So it was called Junkie Died or Doubt, because that's like a tie-in to like how the plague spread or the virus spread. So these are familiar characters if you saw this. Some more locations, little studies of like what I wanted the skyline silhouette to look like, what I wanted the rebel base to look like, some of the streets, Earth 1, Earth 2. Yeah, I put a lot of work into this one. This was a different comic, so this was one that was made by an artist I called Elliot. Still me, but you know. And I did some digital work. I was trying to work more with like shape language, like less realistic body forms, more just this big hunk. This is very like a mixture between one of the characters from early on in The Walking Dead and also Treasure Planet sort of a vibe. It's just these two that like live on a boat together, and there doesn't seem to be any land or any civilization. And he remembers what the world was like before Wilson, and Burr doesn't remember anything. They were born like after whatever happened. It's another sort of apocalypse thing. I guess it was a vibe. I didn't do a lot for this one, I don't think, but I had some ideas for the story, and I wrote out the script. I had these little like textures that I was going to use for my backdrops. I wanted it to be very soft, very watercolor, very warm, like beautiful, beautiful scenes of the water and the sky. These were some interiors that I had of the boat, and I wanted it to be really, really simple. Yeah, I would love to go back to it and maybe change the story a bit because it was very narrow, but I'd like to do something like that. CM by Danny was like more of a comic strip thing. I had picked up this really cool comic collection of comics when I was in Berlin in first year, and I really, really loved the idea of it. And I even emailed the artist after I picked up the comic and told them how much I loved that. It just really, really inspired me, and they were really sweet, and they replied with like a little doodle, and were really happy that I picked it up. I wanted to do something like that where it was just like a 3-panel or 4-panel comic that just was very relatable. So it's called Same. And I had some like concepts of characters. Like this is basically Rob, who was my roommate at the time. I think this was me, and I had some concepts of characters based on friends. This is my friend Natalie again. He's come up a few times. She was what I went for in the end, is like this relatable character for a lot of them. Did some expression studies, and the same with this character, which is very Pixar. This is probably somewhat inspired by Up. Really liked Pixar's like, style for drawing characters then, so I think it had a big influence on me. And these were some of the little comics. Again, if I have the digital versions, I'll throw those up on the screen. I just thought they were pretty funny. Little 3-panels or 4-panel stories. And this was another one. I think I mentioned before that I was working on fic in the supernatural universe or in a college radio station. And I had finished it at this point, but it was relatively popular. Readers from a couple of different countries translated it, and there were a couple of fan projects, and it was really sweet. And I wanted to sort of do a comic that tributed that, so I had these characters. Obviously, this is basically just Dean Winchester, and this obviously is just Castiel. I called him Christopher. Nobody needed to know. This was Sean instead of Dean. Spelled the Irish way, so S-E-I-N. And I guess he was a mechanic. I had some more roughs done for this. You can see where I've just like pulled out a bunch of pages from other sketchbooks and just stuck them in here, but I didn't get any further than that. I had some studies for the locations, the exterior. I never really used these because I didn't get that far, but I had some ideas for the early parts of it, and I did some color studies, which I'll put on the screen using this. I used this page for the main study that I did, with this little guy walking along the side of the road, arched lips, and seeing this garage in the middle of nowhere. And then he faints, and I forget anatomy at some point. I did the thumbs. I didn't get any further, but it was fun. It was nice to be able to post the first page and see people's reaction to it. It was supposed to sort of be a follow-on to it. This was another one. The artist was Robin, and it was called Pulse, and I think it was like basically vegan propaganda. I was very into that back then. I had these sweet little anthropomorphized characters, and the idea was that they would be eating humans in the same way that humans eat animals, and like it was treated very nonchalantly. I didn't do anything for this, but I did do this little study, which was also a gift for my brother when my nephew was born, my first nephew. This was 2013. That was supposed to be the sort of style of it, and I like this like brown paper. I thought it was nice. And then this was my plan for the final book itself. I was gonna get it printed. I never met it. I only half-ass things. I never full-ass anything, but these were how I was gonna divide up the pages, the front and back cover, and the inserts. I was gonna make a zine and publish that, and maybe someday I will, because I do a lot of zine work now, and I love printing books, so it'd be cool to look back at this and see if I could make it. But yeah, that's that sketchbook. That's a pretty plain guy. I'll try and see what else I can find from that project. I know I had a lot of blogs from it. It was definitely one of the more interesting things that I tried to do. I even had little profile pictures for each of them because I was really into cosplay at the time. So that's that, and thank you for listening. Thank you for checking out. I have a few more sketchbooks to go, so like and subscribe, all that usual stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.